What does a farm in New York have to do with blue crabs in Virginia? Water doesn't just flow. It connects. The Susquehanna River is the largest source of fresh water flowing into the Chesapeake Bay. It travels 444 miles through New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. On its journey, the river also carries any pollution that might find its way into the thousands of streams in its reach. It's the same story with every river across the 64,000 square mile Chesapeake Bay Watershed, where all of the water that falls on the land eventually flows to the Chesapeake. The collective impacts of millions of people shape the health of both local waters and the Chesapeake Bay.
We spend a lot of time working across the spectrum of anyone from an individual, starting with school-age kids, all the way through to working with local leaders, local elected officials, community leaders that have the ability to sway public interest in getting active and interested in restoration. Any activity that's happening on the land up in the watershed is going to impact what's happening downstream, not just in that local area stream, but also in the Chesapeake Bay tributaries and the main stem of the bay.
What's good for the Chesapeake begins with actions that have local benefits for people upstream across the entire watershed. For example, when a county protects a forest from development by creating a park, they're not only boosting public health by increasing access to green space, they also could be preventing floods in a nearby community, slowing water down and keeping a stream clean and cold for native brook trout, a species that supports local recreation economies. Elsewhere, replacing hard bulkheads with soft living shorelines or saving salt marsh wetlands not only provides habitat for black ducks and other wildlife, it calms waves and helps absorb storms made worse by climate change. When forests and wetlands are protected or restored, those benefits appear locally and then literally flow downstream to a cleaner Chesapeake Bay.
Those things are filters and lungs for nature, and they help us achieve the water quality benefits so that we can eat the fish, we can swim in the water, we can have clean water to drink, and clean air to breathe, especially in communities that have not had those opportunities before.
Restoring biodiversity and resiliency to an ecosystem not only means making sure that there's habitat for wildlife, but that opportunities for clean water and clean air are balanced across communities for the benefit of every person living in the region.
By focusing on those people that have been really left out of the conversations and not benefited from all of the restoration work that we're trying to do, we're adding balance there too.
Local access to green space and waterways is woven into many efforts that benefit the bay. The shorelines at Masonville Cove in Baltimore were once made toxic by industrial pollution. Today, with its restored habitat, the Urban Wildlife Refuge reconnects students and communities of color to their historic shoreline.
It is a hugely successful example of what can be done in an urban area that, with a little bit of investment and a lot of support from the community, is now a place where school children go, community members go. The way that you make those investments durable is to have people in the community who continue to advocate for the preservation of those things.
The Chesapeake Bay Program Partnership has a number of goals, from restoring biodiverse, water-filtering oyster reefs, to conserving land, to fostering the next generation of stewardship through environmental education. And each goal is connected to nearly every other. Adding green infrastructure to neighborhoods in West Virginia and Delaware means safer streets, healthier residents, less stormwater pollution, and clearer water for underwater grasses in Maryland and Virginia. Restoring a stream and planting a forest buffer keeps a farm field from eroding away, makes nearby communities more resilient, and supports habitat for young fish and blue crabs hundreds of miles away. Even as millions of people live, work, and play in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, its health is improving, both upstream and downstream. And because the work begins with people, ultimately, it's the communities spanning the watershed that stand to benefit.